Have you ever picked up a game in a long-running franchise and thought to yourself, hey, I got hooked so quickly, do I even need to play another franchise ever again? I played Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, and let's just say, this is where I'm at. I didn't plan this. When I first started my retro gaming collection over a decade ago, two of the first games I ever picked up were the original Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior on the NES, two games that I would play on, well, my dad's old NES that he had at the time. I had never played a JRPG at that point, and my only RPG experience would have been from Pokemon Blue and Sapphire. I remember diving deep into the first Final Fantasy game, looking at party guides and walkthroughs, checking out the maps for the dungeons that came with the game. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about the original Dragon Warrior. After trying to get through the early stages of the game, I just, for whatever reason, never progressed. Didn't get that far, and ultimately, it remained on my shelf until this day. As sad as it is, those are the only two JRPG experiences I had for the longest time until eventually playing like Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo. But even still, very limited exposure to the genre as a whole, and a lot of it had to do with just not getting into Dragon Warrior back when I first owned it. And until 2018, when the first Octopath Traveler game got released, I just didn't have any interest in JRPGs. I didn't want to play them, none of them were jumping out to me as games I have to try, and yeah, I missed out on a lot of fantastic games over the years. But something about Octopath Traveler spoke to me, and it was mostly just the art style. It was nostalgic, it was modern, it was just everything I would have hoped for in an experience when it comes to the JRPG genre, and I don't know why, but I never picked it up. I didn't pick up any of the HD-2D games. Octopath Traveler, Live Alive, Triangle Strategy, Octopath Traveler 2, all games that looked incredible and I wanted to try them all, and I just never pulled the trigger. That is until Dragon Quest III. I can't really tell you what it was about that trailer for Dragon Quest III. Something about it just spoke to me in a way that even the other HD-2D games that I had interest in but didn't play had on me. Something about that game just said, you need to play this, and this is going to be your intro back into the genre. And that same day, the day I first saw the announcement trailer, I went and pre-ordered it at my local store. Now, just after Dragon Quest III got released and I had picked it up, I hadn't played it yet before running into my buddy Bobby at our local game store. Now, Bobby is a huge fan of the Dragon Quest series, and we get to talking and I tell him how excited I am that I just picked up Dragon Quest III, and knowing that he's a fan of the franchise, he's excited for me. He thinks it's awesome that I'm finally playing a game. But as we're sitting there talking, he goes, oh, you know what you need to play? Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age. Sure enough, it's next to us on the shelf, and he grabs it to show me and he says, this is one of the best JRPGs I've ever played. This game is incredible. You have to buy it. Have to buy it. Me being the impulsive gamer that I am, I grabbed that game a couple of weeks later despite not even starting Dragon Quest III yet. Fast forward another couple weeks and I finally get through whatever game I was playing at the time, and I start my first ever Dragon Quest playthrough. And oh boy was it good. Not even an hour into the game, I was hooked. The art style was as gorgeous as ever. The music was so beautiful. It struck every nostalgic bone in my body from the early NES days. It was such a welcoming game to a novice JRPG player, and it blended that old school feel with all the polish and charm of a modern day game. Damn near perfection. Dragon Quest III HD-2D ended up being the perfect entry point for me as someone who just hadn't touched the series before. The original NES game clearly laid the groundwork, but this remake polishes it in all of the right ways, making it approachable and exciting. The turn-based battle system kept the simplicity of the classic JRPG, but it feels so much more fluid and snappy now. Your attacks and magic spells have actual weight to them. The menus are quick and intuitive compared to the sloppy mess that could be the NES games. And the HD-2D style adds a level of personality that the NES sprites just could not deliver on. The overall package of the game makes grinding and exploring dungeons way less of a chore and way more of a fun and nostalgic experience. On the topic of exploring, the environments are absolutely stunning. The NES version left most things to your imagination, as most games from that era would have done. But the remake turns the same world map and towns into something you actually want to stop and look at and explore, as opposed to just feeling like yet another town or yet another dungeon. Towns feel alive with the little tiny details of the shops and the characters moving about. The dungeons have atmospheric lighting that make them feel mysterious, and the overworld now feels like a place that you're actually traveling through, not just walking across generic forest tiles or generic plains or mountains, etc. And while we're at it, let's talk about the story, because this is originally an NES game. The story is not as deep and as involved as, let's say, a lot of modern JRPGs would be. It's simple and straightforward, but the remake at least gives you enough character moments and little scenes, actually makes you care about what's happening to Erdrick on his quest. I actually felt attached to my party at this time because there was good visuals to back them up. Here, at least, you can customize the way they look, customize the way they sound, and there's just more options throughout the job system that you can kind of customize and make them feel like their own unique characters and make them feel special to you during your playthrough. I got so lost playing this game, and with my wedding fast approaching, I had very limited time at the end of each day to just sit in bed and maybe play for an hour or two. After months of playing when I could, I found myself hunting down all the friendly monsters, the mini medals, and maxing out my party's levels in the post-game, and after about 95 hours of gameplay and perfecting my party, I completed the post-game, and I was already so excited for Dragon Quest 1 and 2. There's only one problem. I'm very much aware that Dragon Quest 3 is a prequel to Dragon Quest 1 and 2. It was in all the announcement trailers, I talked about it the whole time when doing all the press for the game, but I just beat Dragon Quest 3. I know 1 and 2 is next, but that doesn't come out until October. The other game I own is the 11th one in the series. What do? I know that 11 is highly praised, and not just Bobby's recommendation, but everyone on the internet seems to agree that it's one of the best JRPGs out there. Don't quote me on that if you don't agree with that, but that's what I kept seeing. People were in love with this game, and I really want to play it, but 1 and 2 is coming out. I just played 3 and I want to play 1 and 2. I have other stuff I could play in the meantime, but it's like, am I gonna really wait till October to play 1 and 2 and prevent myself from playing 11? Or do I just play 11 and then go back and play 1 and 2 when 1 and 2 comes out? I kept going back and forth, not knowing what to do. I went back and forth like this for a while before eventually just blacking out and waking up to find out that I now owned at least one version of every game in the main line of the franchise. And now you may be asking yourself, hey Chris, isn't this a expensive and financially irresponsible decision to make? You just bought so many games all from one franchise that you can't possibly play through quickly because they're RPGs. Why would you do that? To which I say, what a wonderful question, thanks for asking it. I am now the proud owner of the Dragon Quest games, and honestly, I am so damn excited to get through this franchise and hopefully gain that love and appreciation for the JRPG genre. The only issue that I have right now is that despite being painfully aware that I don't have to play these games in order to experience them properly, I cannot bring myself to play any of them until 1 and 2 comes out in October this year. That being said, as soon as I get through Dragon Quest 1 and 2, I'm unleashed. I'm gonna play through all of these Dragon Quest games within the next, 15, 16 months, and I can guarantee you at the end of it, there will be a video on Dragon Quest XI, because everything I've seen, everything I've heard, all the buildup of playing all of these games, it's gonna be worth it. And I can guarantee that I'm going to enjoy that game and that experience, and I'm just so excited to get there. So if you want to follow along on that journey, definitely subscribe to the channel because I got a lot of games to cover. I just need to figure out how to record DS gameplay, and then we're there. So yeah, Dragon Quest III was the catalyst in what may be the biggest deep dive into a fresh genre and franchise for myself, and one that I hope not to regret. This may be one of the best decisions I've ever made in gaming. Or the worst if I just hate all of these games, but I don't think that's going to be the case after the way Dragon Quest III treated me. But honestly, I cannot wait to experience all these games with you guys, and this may be just the biggest deep dive I ever do into a franchise, or genre for that matter, in my gaming history. And I am so excited to have you guys along the way for it, because this is going to be one hell of a time. See you in the next one. Cheers. If you want to follow along with my journey into the JRPG genre, or if you want to watch me stumble my way through all kinds of retro gaming experiences, like the time I beat Dead Rising's hardest achievement, leave a like and please subscribe to the channel, and let me know which game in the Dragon Quest franchise is your favorite. Maybe I'll check that one out sooner than you think. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.